So, Spider-Verse. As you guys saw last week, pretty much right after we stopped recording, a slew of Sony projects got delayed, among them being Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, and Part 3, which we have a title for, which we'll be getting to in a moment. Sony's animated sequel to the Oscar. This is per Deadline. Sony's animated sequel to the Oscar-winning movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, is moving from October 7th this year to June 2nd, 2023, with the third movie in the franchise now being slated for March 29th, 2024. Movie delays are never fun.
Then.
What?
We won't be around as a species by then. What are they thinking?
Probably not. We'll make it to the next election. I just think all hell will break loose probably not shortly long after that. I think that's when all hell breaks loose.
I don't
Whenever
know,
we
man.
create a conservative chimera of Trump, Tucker, Alex Jones, and I don't know who else is big right now. The crazy chick who runs Libs of TikTok. Once we create some psychotic chimera of all of them, we'll have that'll be our world ender.
I think Elon Biden Twitter just ticked us 2 minutes closer to midnight, to be honest. But
I think you're right.
I think we had a solid 4 or 5 years left.
Yeah.
And that little point in the timeline is the one that's like, no, we got to like the end of 2023.
He's getting his Twitter back, isn't he?
Oh, you know he is.
He is. I just talked to Armin from Comic Book Cast because he, like me, has a strange obsession with Alex Jones, and we were doing the over under on whether or not Jones comes back to Twitter as well. I think there's a slightly less of a chance for Alex, but Donnie's coming back. But yeah, delays like this are never good. They're good for the production. You got to do what you got to do. I got to say, I don't think I have taken a gut punch from a movie getting delayed quite as hard as I took this one. I was quite sad. Now that we're out of Batman season, I have been equally excited for Spider-Verse Part 2, and especially after the description of the first 15 minutes that we got, that we'll be reading here in a minute as well. I'm really disappointed that I gotta wait another whole ass year and then some to see this. Along with the other movies, Lyle Crocodile was also been delayed. Equalizer 3 was delayed. Funny little note, Daisy Ridley of Star Wars fame has recently gotten back on Instagram after being bullied off by a bunch of virgins. And she shared the news of the Equalizer 3 announcement. And a bunch of people thought that meant that Daisy Ridley was going to be in Equalizer 3. And then she had to make a follow-up post on her story saying, "I'm not in it. I just like these movies," which I thought was very wholesome and very makes your heart warm. It was very sweet. So as I've been alluding to, we have a title for the third Spider-Verse movie. Now, the way it's been kind of teased up is that originally it was Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, which I thought meant that it was going to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 2. So, I'm going to read from this IGN article by Adam Burkhurst. Alongside the revealing that Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse will have 240 characters, 6 universes, and the largest crew for an animated film ever, Sony has revealed that the third Spider-Verse film will be called Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. The news shared at CinemaCon, where the first 15 minutes of Spider-Verse were shown. Spider-Man Across the, and then this is getting back into the discussion about the delay. So I think the title's interesting. 240 characters, 6 universes. I think that's interesting. I think when we get into the description of the first 15 minutes, I think that'll give us some added context. But let me say this, and I'm going to full screen myself real quick, just so I can appeal directly to Sony. If there are 240 characters in this movie, a significant segment of which I am going to assume are Spider people, and Superior Spider-Man is somehow not in that lineup, we're going to have a problem. And that's all I can say legally. Leave it there. So,
he won't be there. In that lineup, though, we will have Madam Web, Secret Agent Aunt May, and Jared Leto. Not Morbius, just Jared Leto.
Just Jared Leto.
And he'll be in live action around the animated, like everything else being animated. And you won't be able to tell.
They will Looney Tunes back in action him, but backwards. So yeah, we got our first 15 minutes from Across the Spider-Verse. So yeah, here we're going to jump into this description from on Gizmodo. Across the Spider-Verse opens on Earth 65, Gwen Stacy's world. And though I'll give some brief visual descriptions here, most of the footage was unfinished, so it's impossible to fully tell what it will look like when it's done. Earth 65 seemed to have a painterly quality, like someone took a brush and dragged it down across the backgrounds. At least that was the vibe I got. In that aesthetic, things open up on Gwen coming home. Her dad, a hulking man, is doing the dishes and excited to tell her that he thinks he's had a break in the Spider-Woman case. He's a police officer, just like Miles' dad, Captain Stacy. And just like Miles' dad, he's searching for his child. Gwen feigns interest at Dad's excitement when he gets a call on the scanner of a possible supervillain event at the Guggenheim. He tells her he thinks this might be the time that they catch her. That what's happening is that Adrian Toomes, aka Vulture, has taken hostages inside the museum. Only the Vulture is a little different. He speaks Italian, which confuses the cops, and they don't know what he wants. Travis and I getting that reputation. Only Vulture is a little different. He speaks Italian. Gwen's dad is about to go into the museum when a bunch of webs grab him and pull him back. It's Gwen. How's the hunt for me going? She jokes before flying into the museum. Gwen and Vulture begin fighting. He's covered in largely ornate armor that makes him look like a gladiator. This article says to think the golden armor from the end of Wonder Woman 84. As they fight, he starts to do the flashy face thing that happened in the last movie, and when Gwen begins to realize that he's from another dimension. Eventually, though, Vulture smashes her to the ground, grabs her, and unleashes 5 massive claws. He's about to kill her when a bunch of webs catch Vulture's hand. It's Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, and the screen tells us he's from Earth 928. He saves Gwen, and then he starts joking with him. She asks him what he is, fully knowing he's a spider person, and jokes that he's like a big black cat, Dark Garfield. She jokes and asks if he wants some lasagna. They're appealing to our people or making fun of us. I can't tell the difference. The joking goes on for too long, though, and Vulture gets back up. Now it's him versus Gwen and Miguel. As they fight, Miguel explains that he's mad at her for what happened on Earth 610 with Kingpin's collider. Gwen says she thought they saved the multiverse, but Miguel says the opposite happened. They actually opened a hole in the multiverse so big now people are crossing over more regularly, like Vulture here. As this is all happening, Vulture is winning, so Miguel's personal assistant Layla jokes that maybe he should call for help. Miguel begrudgingly agrees to Layla, says, I already did. Enter Jessica Drew, Spider Woman of Earth 404, played by Issa Rae. Miguel O'Hara is played by Travis Oscar Isaac. He is reprising his role from the end of Into the Spider Verse.
Getting that money from every big company, baby.
I know, Travis. This is a big year for you in superhero flicks. He hung up the X-wing pilot flight suit and has picked up the ceremonial armor of Moon Knight and the nanotech of Spider-Man 2099. Anyway, enter Jessica Drew of Earth 404, played by Issa Rae, Spider-Woman. She's riding a motorcycle, and Gwen is very excited to see another Spider-Woman, especially one that's pregnant. 5 months to be exact. Jessica says. Gwen asks if she'll adopt her, and then the fight continues. As it continues, Jessica says to Miguel that maybe they should ask for Gwen's help. He says no, and that she knows why he can't do that. We don't know what he's referring to. The fight flies up and outside of the museum to the air where the police helicopter isn't sure who the bad guy is. If the bad guy is Vulture or Miguel. The battle disables the helicopter and it begins falling. Gwen uses her spider sense to begin to shoot webs to stop its fall. Miguel shoots his own webs and flies through the cockpit to save the pilots. Then Jessica helps to slow the helicopter down, which stops right before it hits the ground. Vulture is captured and the hostage is saved. Cut to a POV of another character creeping up on Gwen. It's Captain Stacy. He tells her that she's under arrest for the murder of Peter Parker. He wants her to put her hands up and lay on the ground, so she isn't sure what to do. Quickly, though, things get serious. You don't understand, Gwen keeps saying until she realizes there's only one option. She removes her mask. Captain Stacy is crushed. He can't believe it's his daughter. She explains she wanted to tell him before, but couldn't. How long have you been lying to me? He asked through tears. She asks if he thinks she's a murderer, and after a few beats, he begins to read her Miranda rights. Gwen is shocked, crying, scared. Dad, are you really this afraid of me? She asks. But just she's about to arrest her, Miguel captures him in a little force field. We just can't leave her here, Jessica says. I'm not a babysitter, retorts Miguel. Gwen tells them that she doesn't know what to do, which is when Miguel throws her another one of his multiverse wristband things, and they leave. Cut to Brooklyn, 610. This is Miles Morales' world, the world of the first movie. So it looks just like that. Miles' parents are waiting for him at school for a parent-teacher conference. I can't talk. But of course, Miles is late. He's out being Spider-Man, so we see him flying around the city as the parents and teacher wait. Finally gets back to the room, changes quickly, and says hi to his roommate, who lets Miles know that he still has his mask on. Face. I'm assuming this is Genki. Face, he says. Miles runs through the hallways, crawls on the ceilings, all doing his best to get to the meeting ASAP. While this is happening, Guess Who's Back by Rakim is playing on the soundtrack. Still bangers, nothing but bangers from the Spider-Verse soundtrack. Miles arrives at the conference and the teacher begins going over his grades. A in physics, A in art, A- in English, and a B in Spanish. His mother is pissed at the last one, and Miles explains it's because he missed a few classes, which just makes her madder. 6 classes, in fact, she's the first teacher. This says the teacher who suggests that Miles is a kid who has to begin to tell his own story, a story that will take him from one of the finest science schools in the world, Columbia University. This is news to his mom. In Manhattan, that's too far, says Rio. Miles is mad because Manhattan is still New York. He doesn't think it's too far, and he explains why he wants to go there. He says Columbia has the best quantum research on the planet. They're studying dark matter and might even be able to travel to different dimensions, which his dad, Jefferson Davis, jokes sounds like a fake job. This is a special thing I want to do, says Miles. He explains that there are literally people who can teach him how to do it, but they're not in Brooklyn, just like Miles. Just then, Miles' spider sense tingles. He makes an excuse to leave the meeting. Mom asks if he ordered the cake. He says yes, and he leaves. We don't know what that means. Just then, Dad gets a message on his radio about a potential superhuman event, and he has to go too. That just leaves the teacher and the mom. Your son is lying, the teacher says, and I think you know it. What is he lying about? Who is coming to this dimension? Who else is in the movie? We do not know. That's where the footage ended. Also, it's important to note that beyond our description, the dialogue and exchanges are more dynamic and funny. The stuff with Miles' parents is especially sweet in the moment with Gwen's dad is devastatingly sad. All in all, that June 2023 release date can't come soon enough.
It's a lot for
Travis,
15 minutes.
that's a lot in 15 minutes. Yeah. You dig it? I love how this sounds. I'm super into it. One of the things that jumped out at me immediately is I love the character growth for Miles. If you go back to the first one, he does not want to go to New Horizons. He is, or whatever the name of the school is. He has no desire to go and be at this special hoity-toity school. No desire whatsoever. Flash forward to this movie. Now he wants to go like a step and a half above this school. I think that's a really cool direction to take him. And I think that it's also interesting to put him in a situation where now he is fascinated in how to traverse the multiverse. I think this is really cool. I'm super excited, and this makes me all the more disappointed for that delay, but it will get here when it gets here, and you can expect us to be covering it when it comes out. If you like what you saw there, be sure to subscribe, stick around, and check out entire episodes of the Nerd Academy podcast, Knights of the Nerd Republic, the number one contender, TNAP Movie Club, all of our podcasts here. If you're a nerd, we got something for you. We cover the movie trivia Schmodown. We cover Star Wars. We cover Marvel, DC, movies in general. If you're looking for it, we got it. We'd love to have you. So yeah, class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!